Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Our Gate TV. Welcome to the program Newspaper Headlines on Tuesday, the 24th day of September. And every time we come here, we are just looking at the newspapers, the headlines, what the papers are saying for the very day, and bringing our perspectives and the pros and cons, or the different shades of perspectives and opinions concerning the narratives that are running on the papers. Of course, these perspectives are always objective and just to bring more light to what the people are saying. But if you want to know more, you have to get the newspaper and read more. So we bring you the headlines of the newspaper. And I have joining me today on this program is a legal practitioner in Benue State, Mr. Barrister Amartimin Timothy. Barrister Amartimin, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
Okay, so maybe later I'll be joined by another analyst, but for now we will roll with this. But the first thing to begin, and always, is to begin with Our Gate newspaper. In case you don't know, Our Gate has a newspaper, and it's a weekly production. So it comes up every week. So it comes up with a lot of interesting stories. Let's take the stories before I tell you how you can get this the newspaper wherever you are. Okay, the first story on the newspaper is coming from the banner headline. There is a big gap between Alia's government and the people. That is a political analyst, Leonard Tavishima Ikem, making that statement. There is a big gap between Alia's government and the people. And just above the nameplate, you have Benue Governor Lawmaker Bika over palliatives. And again, flooding, 8 Benue LGAs under threat. And just beside that, you have babies covered with blankets risks suffocation, and that is pediatricians giving that warning. Just the name at the bottom of the paper, there you have Nigeria's inflation rate declines for second consecutive time in August, and flood sacks 404 million from Nigerian schools. Others. This is according to World Bank. That story is at the bottom of the paper. Okay, Amartimin, this is the banner story. There is a big gap between Alia's government and the people.
Okay.
What do you have to say about this? This man is talking from the fact that, and giving some points that his appointments are not, there's no consultations, and many other things as well. But you have perhaps looked at this paper or the story. What do you have to say? And looking also considering that you are on ground.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's one of the beauty of democracy for people to express their own view and then make their own assessment. And I think that's his own personal assessment of the current administration. I think to some extent, opinion may vary on his stand on this issue. I just wish to observe that the big gap, there may be a gap, but it may not be big the way he has stated it. And there is every need for continuous engagement between the people and then the governed. the people who are governing us and then the people who they are there to serve their own interests. So it's very important for the government to listen to all these opinions so that at the end of the day, whether they make sense or not, there is always sense in every nonsense you have around. So I respect his opinion on that issue, or it's about the masses. Because for the masses are seeing some project on ground. So there is a connect between the government and the people. So when you talk about political appointment, then maybe it's a different conversation entirely. So we must situate the people he's referring to in his assessment so that we'll drive home the point. But I think between the masses and then the government, there is a connection. The people are feeling the impact of the government, notwithstanding the fact that we are actually going through very tough economic times because of the removal of fuel subsidy and other issues that are affecting us as a nation.
Okay, and I love this particular time in Benue State because it's a creation of another thing or a term, the masses. For now, we've not heard that term in a democracy at all. The masses and stakeholders. So I begin to imagine whether the stakeholders are not part of the masses.
in fact, you appreciate the fact that all things being equal, the people are. Then we are looking at a selective few, or maybe the elites, who, for the decision makers when it comes to political decisions. So, whereas the people, the masses, are the stakeholders. But recently, we have a different definition of stakeholders in Benue, where we talk about the selected few who decides who gets what, when, and how.
Okay, so again, as I said, every time we have this kind of conversations, we have new terms coming in. The masses, the stakeholders, maybe another administration will come. We have different, what they call it, another coinage.
Yeah.
But as time goes on, we understand. But let's look at this story. Another one here. Recently, we had one big issue that had been disturbing the Benue people regarding the palliatives.
Yes.
The lawmaker and said he had actually what is it called? He had to work to get palliatives for his people, the IDPs in Kwande, and why he brought it to offload it here before it is being taken to where it should be distributed. The government said it was being. We heard that it was. The government said it was being diverted from there to Government House, then to EFCC, then later on to. I think this week or so, a few days ago, I saw that it was being distributed to the IDPs and the rest. But there has been a very big trouble between the governor and the Benue State government. I will not say the governor itself. The Benue State government. And that of the lawmaker. Should there actually exist this kind of bickering?
It was uncalled for in the first instance, assuming there was that proper communication between the major players in this whole narrative. Because if you look at it, I've gone through the letter that emanated from NEMA. We must commend the House of Rep member representing Oshongo and Kwande Federal constituency for taking that bold step towards, identifying with these people who have been affected or displaced following some of the crises in Kwande and some of the other, pocket areas within his federal constituency. Now, if you look at the letter from NEMA, there was supposed to be a synergy between the House of Rep member and then the State Emergency Management Agency. That never happened, and that accounted for why there was that, more of unnecessary aggression and then exchange of words over an issue that was meant to benefit the people. So, because I have gone through it later, the deployment of this was supposed to leave the North Central office of NEMA to the distribution point. Now, if you ask me, what's the distribution point? The distribution point should be the federal constituency. Whereas, the narrative we got was that the said palliative were being uploaded in a private warehouse in Makurdi here, which is outside the scope or jurisdiction of the federal constituency where those palliative were meant to be taken to. So it's natural for one to raise that suspicion that either there was a diversion, right? Now, you can't preempt the motive behind uploading that in Makurdi as opposed to either in Oshongo or Kwande, that it was meant to be distributed to the beneficiary. So that accounted for why there was that uproar, between the government and then the House of Rep member. Unfortunately, we had exchange on the social media, which was very uncalled for. One would have expected an administrative way of resolving the impasse between the House of Rep member and then the Benue State government. However, thankfully, it has been resolved and the beneficiary have gotten their own share of the palliative.
Does this in a way make you believe that the relationship between government and the what they call them, the people,
the stakeholders,
the stakeholders now. Okay. Let's say, does it in a way widen the relationship that the APC members are. You know, the APC already has some little bit of crisis, and they have been working to see that they can fix it up. This is another thing coming in. Does it, in a way, widen up the crisis and make it more, not bringing it close to an end?
It does, and in fact, it's one of those interesting times for us in Benue here. You have a situation where the PDP, that is supposed to be the mainstream opposition in the state, is now opposing the APC-led government. Rather, APC is opposing itself in the state. So one would expect more of a harmonious working relationship between the APC-led government at the state and then the federal lawmakers. However, there seems to be that unholy, working relationship between the two. So it is not good for the state, and we want a situation where there is more of a synergy, more of that harmonious working relationship between the federal representatives and then the state, so that Benue benefits the larger picture of the true dividends of democracy and the current administration of the APC federal controlled government.
Okay, we have joining us on the program the Nathaniel Nongo. He's just joining us now. He is the head of news Agate Media. Nathaniel, welcome.
Good morning, good sir.
Always
good to
nice
be here. Thank you.
You don't look as if you are in this administration. Because you are looking fresh, and am I at Agate newspaper? And before we go on, maybe you have heard us say one or two things, just to get your own opinion or what you have on all the issues that we talked about, including flooding that Benue is also to experience.
Well, the issue of flooding, one would expect that by now the Benue state government should come out and tell Benue people that the 3 billion naira which the federal government announced that it has allocated to each state to address the issue of flooding. This is the areas we are applying the resources to cushion the effect of the impending flood. Already the warning has been given. Are people responding to it? We should hope that people should not wait until the danger is here with us before they will start relocating from those fraud-prone areas. But it behoves the government to apply the resources, because we heard it from the Vice President, Kashim Shettima. He did announce, and of course the Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Professor Joseph Utsev, also confirmed same that the federal government has allocated 3 billion naira. We do not know if it is true that allocation has been done and it's already disbursed to the states. The Benue state government should apply the resources in a way that the impact of this impending flood will be mitigated. Then, but to the issue of palliatives, the whole bickering between the federal lawmaker for Kwande as well as the Benue state government, this is really uncalled for. In fact, if we don't have the IDPs in the camp, nobody will be talking about palliatives in the first place. This administration came on board with a promise of resettling the IDPs. So I think it should be working towards that, fulfilling that promise, so that we don't continue to have the people confined to the IDP camps, and in the end we have issues of palliatives coming up every now and then. Of course, when the whole delay about the palliatives, which indeed NEMA confirmed that the federal lawmaker lobbied to get for the state, was being impounded, the truck was eventually impounded. The IDPs were the ones suffering. So it shouldn't be an issue of our leaders playing politics with this situation of these brothers and sisters who have been living under very dehumanizing conditions in the IDPs camps. So for now, this may be some of the thoughts I will share on the issues.
Okay, before we go to the next paper, I just want to refer that you can go to www.igateradio.tv.com to follow more of the stories on our website. If we can have the technical guys have made that. That is the stories we have there on the website. At the same time, you can follow. This website gives you everything you want, okay? The Agate Radio 1 and 2. And then you have the newspaper by the side there. Then you have other stories at the side. So one website serving you all that you want. So if you go to the newspaper, you can see, scroll down and all of that. At the same time, if you want to get the stories again, you can go to just go to Google Play Store and Google Play Store there and type Agate News, and here you have the newspaper you can download and Install, have the radio, the TV, the newspaper, all that you want at your fingers tip. Okay, that will just do that for now. Let's go to the next paper, and which our next paper is going to be the Punch newspaper. The Punch newspaper carries this headline, very interesting one. One will say PDP Edo poll. Perhaps everyone is looking at this. PDP demands fresh coalition as Labour LP Apata alleges fraud. And the writer says INEC must abide by Section 65 of Electoral Act 2022, that is Damagun, and poll was a transaction, not election. LP. I don't know how he got that, but the above the nameplate you have YFG must end petrol subsidy now. Dangote. Many people would not like to hear the Dangote story again because it has come and nothing is changing. So, FEC plans fuel tankers park for Dangote refinery to tackle congestion. Okay, National Assembly resumes today, demands 2025 budget. Have we implemented the 2024 budget?
Maybe the implementation is on course. And
Okay. I don't know. Litigation claims against 6 banks near 2 billion. That's the bottom of the newspaper. And police probe alleged killing of 3 by Lagos teenage driver. And passengers panic as plane windshield breaks in Abuja. Aha. Some Nigerians will say Wahala. Pro Fubara LG caretaker chairman dump PDP for APP. These are the stories you have on the Punch newspaper. Now let me begin with you. Edo, you must have been, as a head of news, you must have followed all what is happening in Edo. And now PDP say, no, the Nigerian people will say, we no go agree, we no go agree, we no go agree. Please, go back and recount. Say, go back and let's count again and see what happened. But the Labour man says there is fraud. And the Labour says the Labour man is even making one good statement for me here. The poll was a transaction and not election.
well, it's really disturbing, Gustav, if after an off-cycle election that the whole concentration of security in that place and the whole machinery of INEC is concentrated in Edo to conduct this singular poll, and it is not adjudged as being credible, then our democracy really is being called to question, because election observers have come out to say openly that all the political parties, the major ones, were buying votes openly. They lobbied the voters, not just lobbying, but it was a brazen manipulation of the figures by the political parties to favor each of them, with the APC, PDP, and of course even the Labour that is alleging fraud now. Because if the whole, like I mentioned, if the whole concentration of security and the machinery of INEC was concentrated in Edo and they could not deliver a poll that is acceptable, then our democracy really is being tested. One would have expected that being an off-cycle election, it should be a signal, because I want to believe this is the first election that is happening since we have this current administration with President Tinubu in place. So one would have expected that this administration, this first election coming under it, should show a difference, should show an example of what maybe 2027 election may look like. But from the reports of observers, if it is true, and of course we saw images, if it is true that both the political parties manipulated the voters, buying votes, and the figures were manipulated to favor each political party, one should not care about which party benefited in the end. But really, our electoral institution is yet to take shape, because INEC did assure Nigerians, and of course the people of Edo, that the election was going to be transparent, free, and credible. But really, we had disturbing news. At a point, you even heard Governor Obaseki went to the coalition as if he is the state coalition agent. Well, all these are really disturbing. We still have a long way to go as far as our electoral institution is concerned in this country, because the result from what we have seen and from what election observers who were on ground, of course even the media has reported, it caused to worry that the election they did not show a deviation from the past as we have witnessed.
But it's when you look at the what do you call it, the election. So you more or less agree with what Apata is saying, or Labour Party is saying, that it was a transaction.
Absolutely. From the reports of election observers who were on ground in Edo State, they did allege so. In fact, they did not even insulate Labour from being part of the transaction, because the election observers said all the major political parties, and if you look at the major ones that were in the contest in that election, it was the PDP, which is the party controlling that state at the moment, APC, on which platform the governor-elect has been elected, so to say, and of course the Labour. So from the reports of election observers, Yaga Africa in particular, this said all the major political parties brazenly participated in manipulating the figures to their own advantage. So if Labour is saying it's a transaction, yes, are they insulating themselves from the transaction? Because the election observers did not say which political party was actually away from the transaction. So yes, I agree.
Maybe they were not at the forefront.
And maybe their pocket was not deep enough to buy the votes and
enough votes. Okay, let's look at this. He's made mention of something that our electoral body or electoral system is not yet there.
Yeah.
But of course, there's a lot of progress. One will say from the 1999 up to this moment, where those days where you see that ballot boxes were snatched, people pick it up and run away, and then we have technology coming into play. We have the beavers, and now you can even see electoral results. But does it mean there's something that we're not getting correct?
Yeah, completely. And for me, I feel that we lost the opportunity in 2023 to set the correct narrative, and the court didn't have matters in that instance. If you look at the the presidential election, there were a lot of concerns that trailed that election, following the failure of INEC to transmit election results from the polling unit to the RF portal in real time. And the court never helped matters in addressing that issue. And our politicians are very good at learning the process, and they learn to manipulate the system in their own favor. Of the truth, every average Nigerian politician tries to rig election in his or her favor in areas of control. Now, you only hear about lamentation or complaints here and there when the other party outsmarts the other. So it's not as if, just like he rightly observed, the key players or the major political parties too tried in their own respective rights to compromise the process in their own favor. Because we saw a resurgence of vote buying during this election. And then, unfortunately, some of this vote buying took place in the presence of our law enforcement agents, and they did nothing about it. Arrests were not made. So you begin to wonder, what are we really driving at? So it's more of a cash for all, for those with deeper pockets will garnish more votes as opposed to those with smaller pockets. So it's rather very unfortunate, and I think it's time for us to address some of these issues by embracing electronic voting, because the manual process is subject to manipulation. Now, you observe that during this said election, there were more of a movement of some collation centers. Some collations were done in venues that were not designated by INEC, and that is very unhealthy for our system.
Maybe for security reasons.
And now interestingly, some of the party agents were denied access to the new unit, the new collation centers that were moved, to. So some of these things, and interestingly, we never even had some of the security concerns where, our minds were prepared prior to the election. The election fairly was a bit peaceful, but of the truth, they were vote buying, and then some instances of suppression of voters from exercising their franchise. In the 21st century, this shouldn't be the case. And Nigeria have come of age to embrace electronic voting. So that as you vote within that second, your vote is reflecting at the database of INEC, as opposed to this manual process that it takes almost 24 hours for us to know the outcome of an election.
But there's beavers.
And in fact, interestingly, the Electoral Act, following the interpretation of the role of beavers in election by the Supreme Court, that it does not supplant the manual register. It does not supplant the physical collation of results, right? That accounted for why, even as they were announcing election result, only 90% of the polling unit results were uploaded on the RF. Now, there were some even instances where the beavers were not used in some polling units. So you see, Nigerian politicians can smartly do some of these things. You imagine a situation where the two of us are in a contest, and I know that this is your area of control. Now, the easiest thing for me to do, either to disrupt voting in that polling unit so that the majority vote you are expecting, you will not get them, and then I control those areas where I'm pretty confident that I will garnish the majority votes.
Okay.
So such situations do not augur well for our democracy. And situations where people's conscience are bought with money, then it's not a transparent process. And just like he rightly observed, the team, those who monitor the elections, question the transparency of the process. Now, transparency is one very important aspect of election. Let people be pretty confident and sure that, yes, what is done in open, and there are no compromises on the part of either the umpire who is conducting election or the major players. And I must condemn the action of the governor, the sitting governor, who barged into the State Collation Center when he wasn't supposed to be there. You know, and then interestingly, his excuse was that he was calling the resident commissioner who was not picking his call. At that very point in time, why were you putting up calls? Right?
Okay, but we've got winners, we've got a winner, and we've got losers. Do you think the losers have a case in court?
Now, interestingly, if you look at the spread of the election, the man who was declared the winner got 291,667 votes, whereas the person that came second got 247,274 votes. Now, if you look at that margin, it's not too wide. Now, if they are able to substantiate their evidence, because in courts, the court does not rely on public opinion. Decisions are made based on facts. So if they have facts that will support the allegation of fraud and all those issues, then we'll expect that some calculations can be done to do away with such votes that were either manipulated or overinflected in some cases. Because I listened to some of the party agents complain that the number of votes that were recorded in some polling units were more than the number of accredited voters in those polling units. So if some of all these irregularities are well taken care of, the general election, where people were told to go to court. Now, in the face of glaring irregularity and non-compliance with the electoral laws, people are told to go to court. So all that matters now is that do whatever you can to win any election. Allow the aggrieved parties to go to court. If they're able to substantiate their case, they will have their day. If they're unable to do that, they will cry to heaven.
Okay, but you see, from what you said, if the beavers, the IRF and the rest is not part of the law, does not see too strong, it means going to court might just be a long journey that perhaps you might not get a result. And
we saw that happen in Kogi State. You know, so some of these things, they are very difficult to prove, and most times it's always very difficult to unseat someone who is already in power, controlling state resources, and then you are outside using your personal resources trying to fight, you know, as the case may be. And that's why one of the Justice Wise, recommendations for electoral reforms in Nigeria was to the effect that the winner, or INEC, has the duty to establish that the elections were done free and fair and transparent, not the person complaining, because you conducted the election. You were seized with all facts. You have all the requisite document. So establish that these elections were done free and fair, as opposed to the person who is complaining. Because most times the aggrieved party will request for document from INEC so as to file election petition within 21 days. And in most cases, INEC does not comply fully with even orders of court mandating them to release electoral documents to aggrieved parties to approach the court. So INEC has a very important role to play in serving and preserving our democracy.
I will join the voices of those who said if elections are conducted and the winner is declared, both the winner and the losers the governor should not be sworn in All electoral until all litigations
litigations are
are concluded, so that we now know.
Anyway, that will be quite a long journey because it will require not just a mere pronouncement. This have to be a constitutional issue because it will certainly go through a constitutional amendment process. But back to Edo, maybe before you conclude your thought on that, we should commend INEC for generally the level of uploading the result on IREF, which I believe, except that the Amatimi questioned whether relying on what INEC may upload on the IREF portal will really serve as an evidence in court, given that we have not adopted electronic voting yet. Otherwise, the results, almost 98% of it was uploaded on the IREF portal. So one would have expected that now that the declaration of a winner has been IREF portal, they should have a case in court. But on a general note, they gained confidence in that regard. So if maybe that may serve as an evidence, then whoever is challenging the process, already the PDP has rejected the results in totality. They said they are going to court. The Labour said they lost to Financial Watcher. So I don't know if they are really approaching the courts as well. But the whole of it, I think the big aspect of that election was the fact that the PDP with the Obaseki team really did not do its own homework well. Because, for instance, losing your deputy, Shaibu, Phil Shaibu, to the APC was really a master stroke that gave the APC a winning streak, because it has been said that previously he has been one person that was big. And the Obaseki did not have most of the PDP governors on his side, including those who are pulling the levers of the party. He felt that it was a show that he could deliver, but it should serve as a lesson to him and any
other person who thinks when you're a governor you have all.
Absolutely.
Because you can see that on the day of election, the INEC boss in the state didn't even pick his call.
Absolutely.
Before then, he was picking his calls and making. But now, oh God, this is the day. This is the day the Lord has made.
In sincerity, he has no reason. The INEC, the red does not report to him as a governor. He had no reason whatsoever to be calling him at that time.
It's okay. I will go on a short break, and when we come back, we'll take more of the newspaper headlines. Don't go anywhere.
Everybody, welcome to another edition of On the Streets with Philomena Agbanyi, and today we're going to be doing common things around us. They are common. It sounds common, yeah, though, but we're going to know today if they are common or not. So come along. How are you doing?
I'm fine.
I'm going to be asking you a very quick question, okay? These are common things around you. How many local governments we have in Benin State?
23 local governments.
Oh my God! Wow!
On Earth?
Because Pluto was not included.
Damn! Oh, it was 9 before.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have like 8 planets on Earth.
Yeah, now.
Right now?
Yeah.
Wow! Chop knuckle. But sorry, like we have 9 planets.
9?
Yeah, we have 9 planets, and Earth is amongst the planets.
Sorry, oh.
There are no planets on Earth.
Oh, I don't understand.
President of Pluto.
Charlie Poppy.
Elon Musk. Elon Musk is the president of Pluto.
No, it's Charlie Poppy.
Charlie Poppy! Chop knuckle! My brother, there's nothing like president of Pluto, okay?
You were not informed, eh?
Let's try this.
Who is the president of Pluto?
I don't even know that country.
Songs they play. They play.
So you say you don't know the country?
I don't know the country at all.
You don't know the country, Pluto?
Yeah, I don't know the country Pluto.
Oh my
I
God!
force myself to know it because I'm not a geographer to that extent.
Stop it. Get some help.
Oh my God!
I'm a printer by profession.
Oh,
So,
okay.
but I'm supposed to know, but I don't know. Maybe it's a newly created country, so I may not know.
We're still looking at the newspaper headlines. But before we go to the next paper, we just want to look at this story. It's more or less related to what is happening in what happened in Edo State. The Punch newspaper, still on the Punch newspaper, Pro-Fubara LG caretaker chairman dumped PDP for APP. So more or less, are we saying Fubara is going to APP?
Now, it's an indication. It's an indication because if party men who are loyal to the sitting governor and appointees of the governor, so to say, because he appointed them as caretaker chairman. So if they are dumping PDP for APP, there is a clear indication that the governor is preparing to be on his way to the other political party. You recall that prior to their decamping, there were insinuations that there were plans on the part of the governor to decamp to APP, and that trail followed the renovation of the state secretariat of the APP in the state, you know, and all that. But this is a very interesting time for us as a nation, and this may be more of the spill out of the election or the ward election that took place in Rivers State, where apparently the governor has little or no control over the ESCO that emerged from that, you know, ward congresses that took place in the state. So,
Structure.
yes, you know, so the struggle to control the party structure is one thing. More so that at the moment he has fallen apart with his godfather, you know, Minister Wike at the moment, and all moved by the federal government, by the president to reconcile the warring factions have proved abortive. So we see this as an indication that the governor is equally preparing. He's only testing the waters to see how the political atmosphere will be like when he finally becomes another political party.
So if the governor goes to APP now, should the lawmakers also sue him for declare so that his seat can be
The
declared?
governor be declared
Vacant.
because he was elected on the PDP platform. But like Amatimi said, a popular phrase here in Benue, let him test the ground. If he's willing to go to APP and test the ground there, because the whole rumors are just being confirmed now, because it was already alleged, it was rumored that members who are loyal to him in the PDP are seeking alternative platform on the APP, and with the caretaker chairman, which he brought on board now, defecting to the APP, it means they are going to contest the local government election on that platform. But it goes to show that Wike, Minister of the FCT, has had his firm grip on the PDP structures in the state, because if Fubara is insisting that he is the leader of the PDP in the state and really have the commanding structures under him, I would not have seen the local government caretaker committee that he has put in place defecting to the APP. But if really he wants to leave the PDP, there's nothing wrong if he wants to leave and test the ground in the APP or any other political party platform. That's the beauty of democracy. After all, we have a multi-party system. If he's not comfortable operating in the PDP with Wike, let him leave for another political party, rather than the bickering every now and then, because in the end, it's the people of Rivers that will suffer. But it calls to question, would serve the issue of godfatherism and maybe the effect of it on governance, because whenever a political party or a candidate emerges on the shoulders of a godfather, and eventually there's this quarrel between them and the godfather, they seem distracted in governance. They seem to focus more on politicking rather than governance aspect, because by now one would have expected that the dust would settle for Governor Fubara to really be interested in the governance of Rivers State, and not just the query about political structures between him and his godfather. The loyalty, and for me, maybe I'm not is because I'm
when
not
you when you
really
get there.
in core politics, because the ungratefulness, let me use that word, how you find godsons and their political fathers frolicking very smoothly before the election, and when they get, because here is a governor, Fubara, who emerged, according to Minister Wike, that every force was against him. But now those forces that were against Fubara to emerge as governor have joined forces with Fubara to fight Wike. Or according to Wike, what the information he made available in public domain. Now, Wike too is, Fubara too is shouting every now and then that he shouldn't be taken for a weakling. If he talks, the Rivers will catch cold and whatever. So, good enough. If he wants to leave for the APP, no problem, because already the local government caretaker there may be an advanced team to clear the ground for him to come. So,
Indeed, an advanced team. I just feel that the only thing, what this will count against him in the next cycle of election, because by the time this is 2 years going in,
there.
the third year will definitely just be a year of beginning to prepare for politics and the rest. And before you understand or you realize, it's gone. You have done nothing. You are busy pursuing shadows of structures and the rest. And the same thing, we also have the same situation in our state as well. And I discovered that second term is more important for the newcomers, newcomers in governance, more or less governors, than even performance. You just come in and then you begin to say, okay, my second term, how do I get it? I need to have the structures. The structures have to be in my hand, local government, ward, and the rest. And in that case, you will lose focus, as you rightly said. He is going to lose. If second term, if he continues this way, perhaps maybe he defects now, but if he defects later and fights defects later in the third year, there will be nothing to show for. In Wike's time, in first year, Wike was busy commissioning at this time.
Absolutely.
Was busy commissioning things. And if he cannot commission anything at this moment in second to the third year, then people will begin to ask questions. Are you getting lesser money than Wike, or you're getting more money? And now Wike is even in the federal government. He knows what is going to the state.
Absolutely.
He'll definitely tell them, hey, gentlemen, I was even getting less. He's getting more, and he's not doing anything. So
I was getting
In fact, you raise a legal concern as to when the governor decomes. Unfortunately, as the constitution currently constituted, does not make provision. Only the lawmakers, once they defect, without coming under exception, will stand to lose their seat. There is no similar provision for the office of the governor or the president who defects from one political party to another platform. But of a truth, it's something that should worry an average voter. You voted a particular political party based on the manifesto the party sold to you, only for the person at the 11th hour defect to another political party that they rejected at the poll. That's the implication of it. So such state of affairs is not really healthy for our system, and all should be done to checkmate some of these things so that our leaders do not take the masses for granted. Because you campaign under a particular political party, using the manifesto of your party to win the people to your own side. Having garnished the votes of the people, at the 11th hour, you jettison that, and then take another membership of another political party, and then begin to enjoy the ticket of a different political party who sponsored you at that election. So, whereas we need more of our loyal and faithful politicians than people who are consistently inconsistent in their political stand on issues.
So the law, we have a defect in the law there.
We have.
In the constitution.
We have, because if a governor defects, there is no provision as to what will happen to the governor. But if a lawmaker defects, without any crisis in his political party or a merger between two political parties involving him and the other political party, that person loses his or her seat. But that of a governor, there is no provision for that. So,
but the PDP lawmakers, 27 of them have won their case serially. At no point have they lost. So
maybe there was no crisis, as or there was a crisis, as the case may be. Okay, let's go to the Vanguard. The Vanguard newspaper. The Dangote story is still there. Time is quite running out. So diesel price still increasing. That is from the Nation. The Vanguard newspaper. Still talking about the election. We see what happens. And Dangote, Mexico's DOS and Bocas refineries may upstage US. Go to this day newspaper. Dangote NNPC made huge mistake by reducing stake in our refinery from 20% to 7.2%. It comes up with this rider, reveals he lost 2 oil blocks but won't invest heavily in upstream segment. NNPC has pledged to give us 390,000 barrel per day in October, says Africa's richest man. So insists selling crude in local currency will reduce pressure on Naira by 40%. Maintains imported fuel 15 to 20% more expensive than his. Many people are not just the gospel by Dangote and the gospel by NNPC has not actually gotten to many people. The thing still remains, the prices are still there, so nobody is willing to hear this gospel again. Ganduje greets Okpeholo, says APC will recover more states, and says Sanwo-Olu and the rest of the governors are congratulating the winner. CSO, Edo Guba results altered, lack legitimacy rather. PDP has to court, of course. That is the next way to go. These are the stories you have, but let's talk about this Dangote issue. I said the gospel by Dangote and NNPC doesn't seem a bit interesting to many people. In the Punch newspaper, Dangote says YFG must end petrol subsidy now. And do you think Nigerians are interested in all of this than the price?
Personally, Dangote, the coming of his refinery, it was touted as coming to assuage the plight of Nigerians concerning the petrol issue. But he has come to dribble Nigerians. Dangote is never saying how much he's selling his crude oil, his petrol per liter. The last time NNPCL lifted petrol from his refinery, and they came out to announce to Nigerians that they lifted it at 898 naira per liter. He issued a statement denying that, but he never told Nigerians how much he sold the petrol to them per liter. So who is fooling who here? Dangote should shut up and basically run his refinery as a businessman that he is, because the way he is dribbling Nigerians, one would have expected that the coming of the buying at whatever price that he fixes and makes it known that this is how much he's selling, so that those people buy from him and in the end retail to end users. But he came and the policy is that only NNPCL is allowed to lift petrol from his refinery. Until now, he has not announced how much his petrol is going for. So in the end, I've lost confidence in him. It does appear he's just conniving with the federal government and the NNPCL to put Nigerians in the same issue we have been facing, the crisis of petrol that we have been facing. He is not the one who has caused it anyway, but his coming was greeted with some form of excitement that it was going to make a difference. But I don't see that difference happening now. The prices are still up. Much as he has commenced production, he's not selling to independent petroleum marketers. It is NNPCL. They lifted, gave a controversial price. He has not come out to tell us how much he's selling. So what more is he telling Nigerians? For me, I have lost interest in it, and I don't think anything he's saying now will excite any Nigerian. Granted that the refinery is here, there's no excitement that any Nigerian will feel that Dangote is operating.
Okay, Amatimin, your own take. The gospel. They have the gospel. Not
And watch the drama that happened when Dangote was to commence production, at his refinery, when some representative of the federal government agencies came out telling us that what he was refining was substandard and issues of that nature. And they appeared to be a fight. It was more of a direct confrontation on the part of Dangote, where he raised or alleged that there were people in the federal government had a refinery in Metal, and that they were aimed at frustrating him out of business. And that if they let them come and acquire the refinery, he will walk away and leave them with the refinery and all that. That led to the president directing NNPC to begin to sell crude to Dangote in Naira. As we speak, Dangote is still buying crude in dollar until the 1st of October before he will begin to buy crude in Naira. Now, there seems to be a conspiracy between NNPC and then the oil cabal, as well as Dangote on the other side, with the aim of shortchanging Nigeria. And I think we are watching closely what is playing out in that sector. There are people vested interest, and at the end of the day, you can't tell me that a private investor who has built a refinery cannot tell the citizens how much he's going to sell to them until he consults with the federal government. What is NNPC doing about the 3 refineries that we have? They have promised us that the Port Harcourt refinery would commence production in last month. It came, they pushed it to this month. We are still expecting that refinery in Port Harcourt will begin to work. How about the other remaining 2 refineries that NNPC is now focused on being the sole distributor of Dangote refined products, as opposed to running its own refinery? So it's an irony of itself. And the federal government needs to be transparent on these issues, so that at the end of the day, Nigerians will have a better bargain. We are suffering. People are going through a lot because of in fact, even the fuel is not even available. At the moment, there are a lot of queues in our filling stations to buy fuel. People sleep at the filling station to buy fuel. That shouldn't be so in a country that is so blessed with oil.
okay. Of course, Dangote gave us one, showed us how normal fuel should look like. So very pure and the rest. Time is fast gone, but let's look at this. I saw this story and I think we should look at still on the Punch newspaper. No, on the Punch, rather on the this day, Daily Trust rather. Daily Trust, if you can go to Daily Trust, you find that story. It says FG to establish National Citizens Value Brigade in schools. And according to the minister, the federal government says it has approved the creation of the National Citizens Value Brigade across primary and secondary schools nationwide. And the Information Minister, Mohammed Idris, disclosed this yesterday, saying that the gradual erosion of good morals and values among the youth leading to various forms of misconduct actually is the reason why this is coming on board. I just want to ask you your thoughts on this. Is this a good move?
Good time. The federal government is famous for establishing everything. They always this slogan of change begin with me. It's a change beginning with our leaders. They're always interested in values on the part of citizens. On the part, but the values are not manifesting there. I wonder what the national values brigade, whatever, whether it's some form of another quasi security outfit that is coming. They will wear uniforms and be in the schools to ensure that you must conform to morals and values. I don't know.
This is to checkmate the young guys, the way they behave and the rest.
Be establishing. This is a government that came with a promise. They talked about using the Steve Oransanyin report to make some establishments, and they're still establishing more. So I don't know the cost of governance. Are they looking at it? Is it everything that we should have an establishment separate? What is the role of the other existing ones?
The National Orientation Agency. What are they doing? Why not improve and then enhance them to drive some of these core values?
Our problems. Exactly. Values or no values. We need to survive. Let the poor breathe before we have values.
Indeed. We say, as you rightly said, let the poor breathe. But let me ask you, Amatimin, what's your own take on this? But the federal government is saying we have seen that young guys are beginning to lose focus. Their values.
In fact,
So-
the best way to drive this is to lead by example.
Absolutely.
Right? If you lead, in fact, just imagine a scenario where the governor, the president drives to a filling station and queue up to buy fuel. No citizen will leave that line to boycott the process. So it's just about leadership by example, right? You ask us to make sacrifices. While we're making sacrifices, you are buying jets, you are buying yachts, traveling from everywhere you feel like going to, right? Now, it's not just about the people. Now, if we get our leadership right, our followers are ready to follow and then obey. But when you tell them A and then you are doing B, they will go C. And that seems to be what's playing out at the moment. So
It appears you guys don't like this.
you see, the truth is that all of us need to inculcate in ourselves and the younger ones the core basic values, right?
Yeah.
We are fast losing them. That's the truth,
We
right?
don't need a brigade to
But
police
we
you.
don't need that. We don't need that. Lead by example, and then the citizens will follow.
Okay, so the federal government, maybe if you can listen to us.
We don't need a brigade to police you. You have the values. Allow the values to come once your leadership is right.
Yeah,
The
okay.
values will be manifest.
Exactly.
Okay, that is where we have we draw the curtains for today, and I sincerely want to thank you, Nathaniel Nongo, head of news, iGate Radio and TV, and Ahmad Timothy, a legal practitioner in Benue State. Thank you, gentlemen, both for coming on this program.
Thank you, Gustav.
Thank you very much.
My name is Benjamin. See you some other time. Stay safe and be good. Bye for now.